Hey guys, this is Prowl 1701, and today we are continuing our ranking of the Skywalker Saga. And this is my Ultra Saber's Prophecy, my favorite Ultra Saber's saber. Nice replica, in the Bane's Heart color, which is a nice magenta. You can find them at ultrasabers.com. This isn't any kind of paid advertising, I just really like this saber a lot. You should check it out, it's pretty amazing. And today we are looking at number 4 on my list. Now, if you've been following, you'll know that the ranking included, it went Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, Force Awakens, Episode 2, and then Episode 1. And that leads us to number 4 on our list, which is Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. We're moving into original trilogy territory. This, of course, is a fantastic movie. I'm a big fan of this movie. It is a little slower paced than some of them, which I think in the time it came out in the 70s, that kind of pace was more acceptable for this kind of movie. But by today's standards, it could seem a little slowish to modern audiences. One of the problems this movie runs into is the order that people watch the movies, because people are always debating the best way to watch the first 6. Especially if you're showing them to someone who's never seen Star Wars. Do you show them 4, 5, and 6, and then 1, 2, and 3? Or 1, 2, and 3, then 4, 5, and 6? Or some different order in between? I had a girl I dated, I showed her 4 and 5, then 1, 2, and 3, then we watched 5 again, then we watched 6. The problem you run into is, if you're going from 3 to 4, there's such a jar in pacing between these two. Because 3 is fast. Episode 3 is going constantly. There's always something going on because it had so much it had to cram into it. There's always a lot going on in Episode 3. You're going from beat to beat to beat to beat to beat. Then you get to Episode 4, and just by comparison, it drags. Now, on its own, that's fine, because 4 has so much it has to do, being the first movie. 4 really has the burden of a lot of world building. It's having to introduce a lot of new concepts. It's having to explain to you the rules of this universe. It's having to introduce a lot of characters. It's having to develop a lot of characters, which it does really well. It does a really good job of developing its characters so they feel like real characters, real people. And you can understand their motivations and why they do what they do, what their personalities are, because they have real personalities. And it does a good job of that. A lot of the things I like about this movie, the special effects look good. They've been cleaned up and tweaked enough. They still look good. One of the problems you run into with the original trilogy is the theatrical cut versus the special edition. And I'm going to be honest, I fall somewhere in the middle. I think some of the special edition changes work better, and I think some of the special edition changes need to go. Like, for instance, I'm a firm believer that Han shot first. Anything other than Han shot first, I don't accept, especially McClunky. The whole McClunky thing was dumb. But even changing that scene for even the original special edition was dumb. Just take it back to Han shot first, leave it like that. Done. Another change I don't agree with, the scene when Han Solo interacts with Jabba the Hutt doesn't need to be there. Was not in the theatrical cut. I know they added it in just to add it in for the special edition, and they've been, keeping it in ever since, where they tweak Jabba to look a little better in the 2004 DVD release. Here's the thing, it doesn't need to be there, and it kind of ruins Jabba the Hutt's character. There's a scene where Han actually walks on his tail, and Jabba just kind of, okay, it's cool. That's not Jabba the Hutt at all. Now, I get why that's done, because in the actual filming of it, they had a human there as Jabba when they filmed the scene, because they didn't know what Jabba was going to look like yet. And Han walked behind him in the scene, so they had to find a way to make that work. So they're like, well, he just stepped on his tail. But Jabba wouldn't have let that slide. He's Jabba the Hutt. Now, Han would have been a dead man right there. So, to me, that doesn't work, and it kind of breaks Jabba's character. Plus, the scene really ruins the big reveal of Jabba in Return of the Jedi. Because when you first, originally, theatrically, the first time we saw Jabba was in Return of the Jedi. And it's a build to him. You hear him, he's got that booming voice, that looming voice. And even when he shows up, he's shot at these angles where he just looks larger than life and large and ginormous, the way you do his face, you get this picture. He's a bigger dude. The way he's shot. Also, the model used in Return of the Jedi is the best Jabba's ever looked. CGI Jabba in the prequels and the special editions never looks as good as that original 1983 model. Plain and simple. So that scene doesn't need to be there. It needs to be cut back out like it originally was, because it serves no purpose other than ruining Jabba's entrance in Return of the Jedi. Darth Vader is nice. This is a great introduction to Darth Vader. He's not quite the Darth Vader we see in Empire and Return. He's not going to just kill everybody. Although I do love the scene when he force chokes the one guy with the "I find your lack of faith disturbing." Really nice, kind of showing what the Force can do. I like Peter Cushing in this movie. He's really good. I like Peter Cushing in general, so I really enjoy seeing him in this movie. I love the fact that Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee did so many movies together. It's nice that they're both in the Star Wars universe. I like Tarkin. I think Tarkin is well developed in this movie. And he seems like he very much believes in the cause of the Empire. And I like the fact that him and Vader seem to have a mutual respect for each other, to where Vader will even obey Tarkin. I like that. It's like they have a mutual respect for each other. I enjoyed that. I think all of the actors do a good job here. James Earl Jones' voice as Vader is perfect. Really gives Vader a lot of presence. David Prowse in the suit does a good job. Mark Hamill's good. Harrison Ford's good. Carrie Fisher's good. Alec Guinness is amazing. I love Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi. But even the smaller characters, like the guy getting force choked by Vader, he sells that perfectly. The other guy who's in the conference room there, who's like, if the rebels have, managed to acquire a detailed rundown of the station, there is a chance, however unlikely, that he sells that. He's really good there. The people on the rebel base, when they're talking, over the plans for the Death Star, they sell that. Even the smaller characters sell their roles really well. This is, has Wedge in it. I love Wedge. It's always nice to see Wedge. I really like him in the movie. Biggs is good. The guy who does Biggs. Even the guys who play the other X-Wing pilots and what little bit they're in it, like Porkins and all of them, they sell their roles. They don't just seem like actors playing a small part. They seem like the characters come to life. And I enjoy that. The model work is done really well here. I like the fact in the special editions that Luke's lightsaber looks blue across all the scenes. In the Blu-ray releases, they finally got his lightsaber to look consistently blue like it's supposed to. I really like the time it takes to develop the characters. That's really well done. I don't mind A New Hope being slower paced because it has a lot to do. A lot of world building, and I think it does it really well. I really like Alec Guinness in this because Alec Guinness does so much with his face. He adds a class to Obi-Wan Kenobi, but a lot of his reactions, his facial reactions, especially knowing what we know about the saga now, like when Luke asked him about his father, you kind of see Alec Guinness. Well, he was. There's this look on his face like he doesn't really want to talk about it, and he sells that just with the look before he even starts talking. And then when he's on the Falcon and he realizes the moon is not a moon, you see that look on his face where he's just like, that's no moon. His face, again, communicates everything there before he says a word. So I absolutely love his facial expressions because, to me, that is an actor with a lot of experience who has honed his craft and knows exactly what he's doing. And I love Alec Guinness in that role. I enjoy how he sacrifices himself to let the others escape. But since we still hear him talking to Luke after he dies, we hear his voice, we know that somehow some part of him still survives through the Force somehow, even though we don't know all the details, and that he's still guiding and teaching Luke. We still get that from this movie. That's another thing I love about this movie, is that it is self-contained. You don't need any outside media to explain to you what's going on about anything. It's not like movies today, where if you're not sure about something, there's a book to explain that, or a podcast to explain that, or a mini episode to explain that, or a comic book to explain that. You don't need any of that with the original trilogy, especially the original Star Wars. You don't need any kind of outside media. You don't have to go read a book to find out what's going on here. You don't have to look on the internet to find out what's going on here. You don't have to play the game to know what's going on here. Everything you need to know is in that movie. Also, it's not one of those movies that try to cram in sequel stuff. Like, for instance, if, say, A New Hope was the only Star Wars movie ever made, it would still be a great movie. It doesn't have to have Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi to support it. It's not like some of these movies where they're trying to cram in ideas for a sequel, like Amazing Spider-Man 2, when they were trying to cram in like half a dozen sequels, and now it doesn't work because we never got any of them. A New Hope stands on its own, and that's, to me, one of the big differences between how movies were made then and how movies are made now. And I much prefer it the way it was then, like Highlander. Highlander is a movie that was made never to have sequels, and it stands on its own really well. And I think the original Star Wars stands on its own really, really well. If it had never gotten sequels, it would still be a great movie. And of course, John Williams' score is amazing, as it is in every movie. If I ever forget to mention that, it's an understood. John Williams is always a great part of these movies. He just nails it every time. But yeah, I think all of the actors do a good job. It's a great ride. It's something where all of the characters get time to shine. You know, we learn about Vader. We learn about Princess Leia. I mean, we learn how serious the Empire is when we watch them blow up a whole planet without really blinking. So we get Tarkin. You know, all of these characters are so well developed. I mean, we have characters who are developed better in this one movie than characters in the sequel trilogy, who over across the whole trilogy weren't developed that well. I mean, look at Rey and Finn and Poe. I don't think they got developed as well across the whole trilogy as well as these characters got developed just in A New Hope. It's not even close. So yeah, this is, it might be the lowest of my original trilogy movies, but it's still a fantastic movie, and you shouldn't miss it. Click the like button, click the subscribe button. Don't forget to check out my other channel, Another Sci-Fi Guy. I'm really trying to push that one, get more people there, where I review Doctor Who stuff. I just got up my Dune 1984 Steelbook release. I have a Star Trek 2009 Steelbook release about to go up, if it's not up already. And most importantly, thank you for watching.